to this reading. I'm watching the World Cup and they just had a little collision, and if you've ever watched soccer, you know how dramatic the players can be, like watching an NBA game. But recently, if you watch the WNBA, you will know now that players in the FIFA and NBA are wusses compared to the players in the WNBA for the abuse that they get. My gosh. Anyway, and people be like, "Oh, well, that's just basketball." No, it's not. It's annoying, is what it is, and it disrupts the flow of play. And the refs aren't doing their job, in my opinion. And I actually played ball, so you know what I mean. And I was one of those that sometimes and sometimes that's what the opponent does. It's like a weird mental game for them to like pick at whoever they're assigned. And I think I've told this story on here before, but that happened when it ended poorly for a girl who did that against me. She went home with a big bump on her noggin. You know what I mean? Because people will only be pushed so much, and when I pushed back, her head ran into the bleachers. She, ended up diving into the bleachers head first. But I guess when I pushed her finally, it was with enough force that it blew her off the frickin' court. And then, after that, she wasn't really coming at me anymore. I had to sit out for a while at that. I never know if they let me back in that game or not. But you know what I mean. I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's completely intentional. And sometimes you gotta let these people know that you mean business. So if you gotta elbow them, you gotta do some damage. It's like, look, you're just defending yourself at this point. So, you know what I mean? Don't worry about being viewed as the villain, because they already picked you as the villain to begin with. And then we're never going to give you a fair shot. You understand what I'm saying? This is where all these people that are like, "Oh, well, turn to Jesus and blah, blah." Okay, well, if Jesus could tell you, you know what I mean? Is he going to be like, "Yeah, man, I would totally go through with that crucifixion"? No, he's going to figure out a way for you to jump off of that little bandwagon parade and go somewhere else. You understand? Because we already went through that. Some of these bloodthirsty Romans out here, they forgot what fucking decade they're in, what eon they're in, for that matter. Okay? Some of them don't even know what fucking planet they're on, so there's that too. Right? So just remind yourself of that as you're out and about around some of these, I'll call it the general population. Okay? Because these are the people that end up, having things explode in their hands and faces and all sorts of shit. Try and point them at your car, it's dumb shit. Okay? Alrighty. Three of Cups, party, party, party. So, celebrate, but, do it around people that aren't morons. It's not really that hard. Three of Pentacles. Okay. If you're that hard up for news about it, go listen to the police scanner. You could have a new project working collective, and this could have come from somebody you met while socializing as well. King of Wands. There's that Leo energy popping around the corner. Aries and Sagittarius as well. So you might be kind of, I wouldn't say with this heat dressed to the nines, but it's kind of giving that, you know what I mean? Like where it's just like your presence is noticed. Okay. Ooh, El Diablo. Wow. Is that what's going on? Somebody doesn't like that your presence is noticed, collective? Oh, well, they're just going to have to get used to it, right? You know what I mean? That's just like some people, this town ain't big enough for both of us. Who are you? You know what I mean? Especially in the scheme of things. of the earth, of history. Like, come on. That's what I just can't comprehend how some of these people waste their time. Okay. So Cappies, you could be questioning that as well. Like maybe you're just a hardworking person and it's just like, why, you're like, I want to work on this. I don't want to worry about this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? It could be one of these deals. Two of Swords. Yeah, they wanted to keep you out of the loop. And Collective, this could have been one of those things where there's somebody trying to gaslight you into believing that you're not as attractive as you are, that you are actually a King of Wands. I mean, men do it to women, but I've seen women do it to men too. Like, oh, what, you think she would go out with you? Oh, you think you're so hot? Oh, you think, you know what I mean? And some of them dudes will be like, okay, I might have to go try that theory. Right. And then lo and behold, all of a sudden, it's like you find yourself around a whole new circle of people that are saying, hey, yeah, we like how you look. Right. And then you got Grumpy Bumpy down here and somebody else that was like, oh, but I wanted them to be confused. And you're like, yeah, I'm not. So it didn't work. Whatever you thought was going to work, it didn't. Hello there in the chat. This is a collective reading, FYI. So if something isn't resonating with you today, don't sweat it. It's just not your reading. Okay. It could be happening to somebody around you, though. All right. And that might be why you are drawn into this reading today. Okay. Page of Wands in the outcome. Yeah. This could be one of those deals where even like you see something like this and you tell somebody that you know what I mean, that it's like, yeah, they're trying to pull over the wool of your eyes, but like, don't shoot the messenger. You know what I mean? Okay. Because collective, and the reason they were trying to do this is because they saw what you're capable of and they wanted a taste of that for themselves, right? They wanted to be able to control it, but you're like, I'm not into that controlling stuff. I mean, a King of Wands is never going to be into that controlling stuff. Only like the fun kind. All right. Which ends when you exit the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, that's probably like a complaint about the King of Wands as a masculine. You're like, oh, they're not jealous when I'm talking to so and so, or they're not texting me every 5 minutes, blah blah blah. Yeah, because they don't care. They just figure you're grown and hopefully you can figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to worry their pretty little head about it because that's this stuff, wanting people to feel insecure and think, oh, you're going to be tied into, bad situations forever. And this is just how life is supposed to be. Right. King Wands is like, no, it's not. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about it. I'm just going to show up and fucking look good. What do you think about that? Kiss my ass now. Get out of my fucking face. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. Like, it's like, I don't have time for this. I'm ready for my beer now. Okay. That's what some of these World Cup fans are saying. I'm ready for my beer now. These guys are stressing me out, right? I've not really found yet a dedicated place in town that is that's advertised showing all the games. So maybe their advertising isn't reaching me, or I just haven't heard it. I don't know. But you know where has it? Antenna Television. I mean, God forbid you even bring up anything anymore in a bar. People got to jump your ass about it anyway. And I get it. There's some people who don't like sports because the gambling angle, and they just think it's a waste of time. And maybe they were never that athletic. You know what I mean? So they got some fucking chip on their shoulder about it and bullshit. You know what I mean? Like I played sports, so you know what I mean? And we had all levels on our team. Guess what? Not everybody got to start. Sometimes you were the sub. Sometimes you barely got to play at all. But you still had to show up at practice and work just as hard as everybody else. guess what? You're not going to win every single thing in life. It does not work that way. And somebody is trying to sell that out there. Oh, yeah, it's summer. It's going to be perfect. Yeah. Oh, what? Like, there's not going to be a hot day out there? Like, it's fucking higher as balls. They even shut down the shit over in DC this afternoon. They took a siesta because it was too hot. You know, people be like, "Oh, you work from home? That's so great." Blah blah. Yeah, well, it's hot out, so I can't do a whole lot outside right now that I would like to be getting done. I mean, there's even some like cute work guys at the neighbor's place. I can't even sit out there and, you know, pretend I'm not looking at them, you know, with their shirts off because they're dying over there. They can't even, it's that hot. You know what I mean? And they're in the shade. Hopefully this audio is coming through. I reset something with my microphone again. Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, it's like some people don't understand that song Party All the Time is just a song. Like then the song ends. It's like they don't get that. Ace of Cups. You do. That's why you're working on other stuff that's fulfilling to you. Okay, somebody else is sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm so bored," and you're like, "Yeah, I got like 10 things on my brain right now." They're like, "Oh, well, you just think too much." No, no, I'm just kind of busy and I like it that way. You know what I mean? And it brings me joy. It brings me a sense of purpose, right? Some people will be like, "Well, what do you mean? You just read." Okay, well, maybe you like to read those books that are in a series, and then when you finish that series, it gives you that sense of accomplishment. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because they don't want to sit there and read, you know, they'd rather bullshit with so and so and so and so. They can go fucking do that all they want. Nobody's stopping them. You ever see that? It's like ain't nobody stopping you from your good time, pal. So have a glass of shut the fuck up and sit down. Like, who are these people? Good grief. Knight of Wands. Look at that. So somebody could be getting a little flirtatious here. If you are this King of Wands, you could be extending a little bit of flirtation. All right. Or collective, somebody, you know, that appears like they have it all together might be kind of, you know, in like more of a juvenile way flirting with you. And you're kind of going to be asking yourself, like, is this person flirting with me? Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah, why? Because look at that. You're the healer, the star card, right on top of Diablo here. So anything this King of Wands is face, anything, you know, no, you're already got the love, right? What's that Florence and the Machine song? You got the love, right? Okay. You already got your stuff going on, collective. Right? So this King of Wands is like, okay, that's not just a house, that's a home. That's, you know, they got something going on here. Right? Something that's good, something that's worth saving, right? Something that's worth putting that cup out and saying, yeah, I want some of that, right? In here, Aquarius, the water bearer, okay, filling up the cup. Okay. Thank you for your subscription. Remember, please do like the video, especially if you're in the chat today. Remember, you do not have to be a subscriber in order to like the video, but you sure can. And when you do that, you can hit the notification bell, and that will be sure to inform you of when I'm going live, which is the typical way that I post readings, okay? And there are some that have recently appeared back that I shared out on the community post tab. That's just the issue with YouTube because of the way I like to record. Sometimes I go back and it's like the whole video is not there. So this was like almost a week before these videos showed back up. So to ensure that you do not miss a live video, hitting that notification bell will push that notification to your device in your preferred manner. Okay. Yeah, so again, I'm getting this very unbothered feeling from you, collective. Okay. Um where again, people thought you were going to be confused, and it's like you're coming out here smelling like a rose, wearing your nice robe, saying, "Hey, look at this cool bird." And they're like, "What is happening?" It's like these people are so confused. It's like they can't, yeah, Page of Swords. It's like they can't get over it. They're talking about you. Okay. Yeah, they're definitely gossiping. They're on the gossip train. And, it's a shame that some people are so stupid these days, collective. And, I've heard it for years. They call it the dumbing down of society. But, when we continue to prop up these, I don't know if you want to call them characters. Do you know what I mean? In the media, after a while, that kind of rubs off on people, you know? And hey, man, maybe you like Skims. I'm not saying nothing about it. Maybe you like the lip gloss. I'm not saying nothing about that. Okay. But I mean, I've used Max Factor products before too, and I didn't, have to watch a 10-hour docuseries about his life. Do you know what I mean? So because you're not like that, collective, doing what everybody else is trying to do to be popular or whatever, they thought, that this nakedness, that this vulnerability here, this, kind of stripped down version of you wasn't going to be anything, right? They thought you were dressing it up with the devil, and you're like, no, actually, I'm rising to meet myself where I've already been and worked. Thank you very much. Fucking idiots. Hierophant. You're like, wow, have you ever even opened up a book ever? Like ever? I mean, this is what I'm saying. Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger when you find out how dumb your neighbor is, right? Page of Swords. Very immature energy. Collective, you may have had to have great patience through this as well. Again, with the cup here, again, you're worried about filling up this cup. You're not worried about these gossip hounds. You're not worried about these people who ain't doing shit for you. Have you ever done that? You just stop texting people, you stop calling people, and see when the next time they contact you is. Let me tell you, it don't take long to start to feel lonely. Not at all. But then it's like, well, now you know. Right? And it's like, I didn't necessarily need a book to tell me that neither. That's just called the basics. I remember before the printing press, all those people living and breathing and walking around. Yeah. Okay. Somehow they survived. Imagine if they could actually read, if they actually had access to information, what they would have done with it. You think they would have done the same thing that we're doing with it now as a whole? Okay. Think about that. Okay. Because this message was coming through too earlier. Like, there's a lot of people out there, they want to make all these excuses and be like, oh, I didn't really have a choice in the matter. Yeah, well, you kind of did, right? And you still chose to play it. Where somebody else was like, no, I'm not playing this game. In fact, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the game that I already played and won several times over. So, sorry about your luck. Maybe they can be the ones to get gossiped about, since they like to be on the pulse of what's happening here. Okay. So, collective, you might be retreating a little bit to express yourself in a creative way, potentially. All right. This could be something you have studied as well. All right. You know what I mean? Like, do you have to have an English degree to be a novelist? No. Do you have to have a degree in performance art in order to, play guitar? No. And, you know, collective, there's a lot of people that are self-studied as well, okay, that know how to build upon things that they're given, right? Think about, you know, previous generations as far as, you know, your mother, you know, your grandmother or great grandmother. What kind of resources did they ever have? How far were they even allowed to go to school? You know, not till this generation can we, you know, really freely, you know, have credit cards. Oh dear, what capitalism, you know? I mean, really, I mean, we may have already experienced the collapse of society if those credit cards had never gotten to the rest of us, right? Because you know, there's only so many places that'll let you use your charge card for hookers and blow, right, Joe? All right. Yeah, wouldn't you hate to be the accountant for that? All right. That's what always cracked me up too, when I was working in the corporate world, and some of these dudes, like, they didn't, like, let their wives know how much their bonus check was gonna be, or you know what I mean? Like, what kind of building are you trying to do here? You know? Anyway. Right? Good luck. Good luck to you. Let's get one more here. Let's go ahead and do the meditation deck, even though I used this one not too long ago, just because we are going to have celebrations right through the weekend. So everybody that needs to be safe, and some people might want to be more in a meditative type zone with either their kids, you know, any veterans they may know, anybody suffering from PTSD, especially our little animals, right? That might not like some of those loud noises. It always concerns me when it happens when they get confused and then they get lost. You know, I mean, to me that's very sad. So, you know, once that evening hour hits, you might want to keep them inside. You know what I mean? When things like that are happening. Okay. All right, contemplation. Okay. So collective, the Queen of Pentacles is not necessarily, she's not the loudest queen, right? She's more of an austere queen, might be a few words. Maybe it's more personable around people, you know, they know personally, things of that nature. Okay. Healing again with this Ace of Cups, very self-explanatory there. All right. Again, whatever this project is that you're working on may be very healing for you. Okay. Curiosity, which I was literally going to work on something, but when the other computer was not charged up, so I was like, well, I guess I have to do a reading now. So King of Wands, yeah, that's a King of Wands is somebody who's going to be more curious, right? Or, you know, even Knight of Wands. Um, you know, but it should be playful energy, right? Not reckless energy. Okay. Initiation. All right. So, collective, I feel like, especially if you have turned away from these negativities and have started on your healing journey here with the star card, this is like kind of, you know, when you're going to start getting, you know, your upgrades, your downloads, your waves of joy. All right. That are going to start to show you what your life is actually supposed to be like versus what other people thought it should be for you. Okay. Does that make sense? And that's going to come from above, a source greater. Okay. So, yeah. So you might need to let go of expectations. Okay. Because again, that's part of what this is, that, you know, dressing you up in some kind of costume. So funny to me too, like some especially people that, call themselves counterculture. If you look into some of these people and some of their behaviors and stuff, and it's like, is that counterculture or is that you just weren't able to manipulate the right people into doing what they wanted them to do? I mean, it's a very interesting topic once you start actually looking at individual cases. Okay. Oh my gosh, look at that. Letting go. Wow. So I almost feel like this bird's going to fly away at any time it's on her. So, yeah, collective, you standing here in this 9 of Pentacles, you're just kind of like, I don't, and it's almost like she's within her palace walls, and she's like, I don't care what's happening outside right now. We're doing this over here. So that happened to me one New Year's Eve. Like, I told one of my friends what me and some other people had planned. And then when they came over, they were just complaining the whole time and saying how boring such and such was that we were listening to. And I was like, look, I told you what we were doing. I'm not gonna change everything now just because you came over and decided that you don't like it when you were probably not gonna like it anyway. You know what I mean? So letting go of the need to please other people. I know, right? Heart heart opening. And when that happens, yeah, what can occur? Again. So that's part of that healing. Instead of, saying, no, I need to stay closed up because every time I try and do something, some idiot comes around, right? Well, when you let go and let those boundaries stand, guess what? You get to enjoy that. Forgiveness. Okay, so this could be forgiveness for yourself as well, collective. This could be a theme in something that you're working on as well, artistically. All right. Um, and that's another thing too, collective. The older I get, the less I care about I don't know, critics, things of that nature. Um where it's like you like it, you don't, you don't. But again, that doesn't mean, I mean, it's kind of reminding me of the Ayn Rand, the Fountainhead, right? He's the main character wants to design, he's an architect and he wants to design these buildings, you know what I mean? And he's, has this curious mind and wants to do something great and like, you know, but it's like, "Oh, no, but you have to do this if you wanna make it," and you know what I mean? They wanna dress him up in this monkey suit, and he doesn't wanna do that. But when he lets go, right, and realizes, yeah, you might have had some bold ideas, but, the world is slow to change, okay? So, they might be talking about you now. They might be talking about you still 10 years from now. Who knows? The important part is that you went after what you were trying to accomplish, right? Whether you accomplish that fully or not, but hopefully you can, right? Artistically speaking. Okay. So, collective, some of that, it's like no matter how hard we try, it's like if you don't forgive yourself, then it's like you're never going to progress because you're still going to be living up to the expectations of others. I'll go back to that Bunny XO clip I saw. I don't even know if that was her speaking or not, but she was talking about how somebody was criticizing them for not holding themselves to a higher standard. And she was like, you realize I am a former SW, she said, and he was a felon that was in jail. So, we've already broken your standard of whatever. All right. So like they already forgave themselves for that and moved forward in life. You know what I mean? It's like that's where she was kind of like trying to say like y'all need to catch up to that. Maybe somebody's getting initiated on that one, right? And people think that because like they don't know the intimate details, this and that, for them to judge and this and that. And it's like they don't need to know that. In fact, it has nothing to do with them. Just like I was saying, when's the last time this person, these people contacted you for any old reason? Even just to say hello or to inquire about your health. Oh, they haven't? Then screw them and their need for information. Let them gossip. Let them try and figure it out. Good luck. Good luck, because let me tell you, some of them ain't too bright out there. That's why this gets so attractive. Oh, I don't have to think. I don't have to use my yeah. Yeah, he'll do it all for you. What? No, wait a second. Wait a second. What are you agreeing to here? Huh? Huh? I mean, I said that to somebody once about like when I was dating, I was like, about like trying to make decisions for two people. And they were just kind of like, huh? And then that moment I realized, I was like, okay, yeah, this person hasn't even like considered that. It's like, this is not a person that's serious about being in a partnership. you know, they just want to go for it because, it looks good to have somebody on their arm, or it looks good to put on social media in a relationship. So you don't have to be like, oh man, you're still single. Be like, yeah, is your wife still a bitch? Oh, does your man not still wash his ass yet? Yeah. Yeah, I'm good on being single anyway. Oh my heavens. You know what I mean? I know I've talked about this one before. Like the one one guy I dated in high school. It's like he would wear the same freaking clothes, and after a while it gets stinky. It's like, dude, you're looking like a scumbag on purpose. Like, that's not attractive. Anyway. But everybody has to, like I said, everybody has to go through their own thing. But that doesn't mean you have to be there for it. That's part of that letting go. That's saying, okay, that's their journey. Good luck. Meanwhile, you're like, I'm going to put on this fresh robe that I just had dry cleaned. Right? You know what I mean? And I'm going to go walk around my garden and, watch my garden grow. Pretty simple, really. But, how that how Diablo is. They like to make things complicated and then say it's easy. I mean, Ariel figured that one out, right? With Ursula. Well, it wasn't that easy. All right, that is all I have for you guys today. All right, so stay safe out there, and please do manifest wisely. Bye bye.